We're going to get started. My name is Trustee Glatz. Myself, Clerk Therian, Trustee Mueller, and Trustee Brady put this together for everyone, so thank you for everyone for coming. So unfortunately, we couldn't do this on our own like we do Cook County. Will County is a different animal, as you guys have seen yourself. So we needed the help of Joe Crawl. Thank you for coming from the Frankfort Assessor's office. And Joe is going to take it from here. And if you have any questions, just ask Joe, and we'll be providing information for you to get a hold of him as well.
Is this just about Will County then?
This is Will County.
Just Will County. If you're in Cook County, this is not going to help you. Cook County is a magical place that things happen that don't happen anywhere else in the state.
Cook County, sir, we're going to be doing it probably in September, roughly. We're still trying to find a venue to host it in because of the COVID.
Yeah.
But yeah, just keep following on social media. We'll be doing it roughly in September.
Okay, thank you.
Sorry about that.
That's okay.
Will you need the microphone, Joe, or do you want it?
Can everybody hear me?
Yeah.
All right. Yeah, I'm not very good with microphones, and I was really sort of worried about having to wear a mask just because I don't know if I would promote. Hi, my name is Joe Crawl. I'm the assessor of Frankfort Township. What does that mean? Am I the tax assessor? No. I'm the property assessor. What do? I put a value on your home. That's the extent of it. I value all the homes. I make sure that they are being assessed fairly and to what the market is. What is an assessment? An assessment is 1/3 of market value. So when you look at my assessments and you multiply it by 3, that is what I'm saying the value of your house is as of the first of the year, averaged over the 3 preceding years. So there's a lot. 2 things I want to let you guys know to start. One, if ever I give you the opinion that downstate politicians know what they're doing, it was a mistake. That is not true. But they do understand property taxes. And when they set the system up, they made it confusing when it really shouldn't be, but it is. Property taxes are based upon assessments. Who here can tell me what property taxes pay for? Anybody? Schools? Library? Parks? Fire department? Police department? It's a city, but yeah. The big ones are the fire. The big ones are the schools. They're number 1. They account for about 70% of your property tax bill. They are a shared responsibility amongst all of us to pay for them. And we do, over and over again. Show of hands, how many are here because they think the value on their house is wrong? How many are here because their property tax bill went up $800 last year? We'll get to that too. Let's start out with appealing assessments. You can appeal an assessment in the state of Illinois on 3 factors. Recent sale. Did you just buy your house in the last 2 years? Is that assessment less than what I have it assessed for? Easy appeal. Second are other sales. Now in Brookside Glen or even north, I think you want to avoid sales this year because believe it or not, sales are pretty brisk in Tinley Park, Brookside Glen, and they're pretty high. A lot of city folks trying to get out of their 2,000 square foot condos really love the idea of a backyard. Doesn't mean anything. The value of your property is going to go up in assessment by 2.75% this year. How much do you think that's going to affect your tax bill? Anybody? Let me ask you this. Let's say tomorrow, I'm the ogre that I am. I walked in and I doubled everybody's assessment in here. Everybody in the whole township. What happens to your tax bill?
Should double.
Anybody? Nope.
Stays the same.
It would stay the exact same. Why? Because an assessment change that occurs to everybody does not affect the tax bill. It lowers the tax rate. Taxes are calculated in a simple function. They take the assessed value of an area let's say that, let's make it a small area. Let's say there's just 10 houses and one park district. That's the only taxing body we have. And that park district, I don't know, I always use 100. Yeah, okay. The park one requires $100 a year to operate. We've got 10 homes. In each of those homes, you're the assessor and you value them at $200 a piece. Okay? $2,000 total assessed value. How do you make that equal the $100 levy? Well, you got to multiply it by 5%, right? And every house pays $10. 10 houses pay $10, covers the $100. Now, you all discover oil on your property. It's now worth $400. Well, $400 times 10 is $4,000. To cover the $100 levy from the taxing body, the tax rate gets moved down to 2.5%. Overall adjustments to your assessment mean nothing to your tax bill. You got a letter in the mail last year because it was the quad, and it said 2.93% increase. That did not affect your taxes $1. The tax rate was adjusted down. Now, we're talking about the $800, and I'll get to that in a minute. It has to do with straddling counties and what we've been doing. But let's get the people that I want to talk about appealing done first. Just buy your house, recent sale. 2, other sales. You're going to look for sales in the last 2 years. Can you do me a favor and go to redfin.com? Redfin.com is a pretty good one. It's like Zillow. I like Redfin a little better. 60478, is it?
877.
Okay. All right. Now, you're only going to want homes in here, so you want to make an outline for this area here. Or better yet, go to more filters, pull down, scroll down a little bit, scroll down, sold, click on that, change that to 3 years, or scroll down 3 years. Apply filters. Those are the sales that I'm working with. You want to know what sales are? Redfin.com will give you those sales. Now, you got to know whether the sales are foreclosure. They don't count. They don't count. You can't even say, oh look, Mike, this guy just bought this house for $200,000. My house is worth that. Well, no, they stripped all the copper out of it. It hasn't been lived in a while, and your house is not like that. My job is to make things fair. That's what I do. I can't make it more fair for one guy or less fair for the other. And that's why the third way to appeal, and the one that I will hold the most weight behind, is called assessment equity. Now, you're going to use sales, you're going to want to find sales, you're going to want to divide the square foot of that house by the sales price. The same type of house, if you're in a 3-step ranch, take 3-step ranches. You're in a 2-story, you take 2 stories. And you can divide that out, get a price per square foot. The third way is assessment equity. Now, somewhere, I did a sequel poll of all of the homes, and I think it was $36 a square foot is the average price per square foot on 3-step ranches, and 33 is on 1 plus 2 stories, and 32 is 2 stories. Can anybody tell me why a ranch is cost more per square foot than a 2-story? The most expensive part of a house is the foundation. To build a house, it costs the most to put a foundation in. The second most expensive part of a house is the roof. Under every single square foot of a ranch is foundation and roof. It costs more to build. Does that mean anything? No. But it costs more in the fact that more people will buy a ranch than will buy a 2-story. Can you think of any reason why somebody wouldn't buy a house with 7 stairs? Or 10 stairs? Because they're older. If you're going to cut part of the market out, you are going to drive down the price of where somebody's going to buy them. So That's why you don't want to, if you're in a ranch and you say, well, look, Joe, I've got 6 houses that you're doing at $33 a square foot and I'm at 36, and they're all 2 stories and you're a ranch, it's not going to work as far as an appeal goes. And it probably won't work with the Board of Review either. I don't want you guys doing a lot of unnecessary work, but if you're going to do it right. Compare your house to other houses that are similar to yours. And every time, and when you file these appeals, I'll get them. And for the most part, I'll probably look at them, and if there's reason to do it, I'm going to call you back and we're going to settle on a deal, because I don't want to have to go dealing with Will County and the Board of Review at this point. But we'll move on to that. All right, CPI. Anybody have questions about it? Yes?
You said that if it's a recent sale, what about refinance? Do you have to have your house appraised for that as well?
No. If it was 10 years ago, I would be more apt to utilize a refinance appraisal. As an appraiser myself, the problem with refinance appraisals is that something happened in late 2000s, where they were increasing values, jacking them up. And some appraisers went to jail. Never will an appraiser go to jail for too low of a value, but they will for too high of a value. Can I let you guys in on a secret? Banks are not your friend. They don't talk to you because they like you. They don't talk to you. They talk to you because they make money off of you. Now, banks got hurt badly because they were lending out money based upon inflated appraisals. And then when those people defaulted, they got the property back. And the property wasn't worth what the appraisal said it was worth. And they were stuck holding thousands of properties that weren't worth what they said they were. So what did the banks do? Banks got appraisal laws rewritten. And now to refinance, it's in the bank's best interest to give you the lowest number possible. In case you default on your loan, they know they're going to get the value of that. Now, it's not saying I've seen good appraisals, and I'll look at any appraisal you want to submit. I'll take a look at what sales and comps it uses, but they're generally about 7 to 10% level. And I mean, it's not, we can talk about what, one of the first things that I'm going to ask all of you to do when you get home, go to frankfortassessor.com. To frankfortassessor.com? Sorry. All right. Property search. Click on that number. I understand and accept the above. Now, go ahead and put your 8142. On this line here, put the least amount of information you can. You want to put your street name in, it'll give every house on your street. You want to put your street number in, hit search. Up here is going to come up a listing of all of those. You want to click on yours? This is a picture that we have of your house. This is the data that we have on your house. If you click on, scroll down here. There's the sketch. Go this way. Click to zoom. This is the sketch. BR means brick, B means basement, BRG means brick garage. My predecessor had a weird nomenclature that we're readjusting that. In fact, right now I'm implementing a new program that should give more access and allow you guys to have access to wide swaths of data. This program ancient, but it is what we have. This is what I have as far as the data goes. This is what I'm going to utilize when I come up with a price per square foot on your property, and I'm going to compare you with your neighbors. If this is wrong, you need to tell me. I need to send somebody out and remeasure it. Good idea if you tell me where it is. I mean, it's just a matter of tape measure, but I mean, it's 28. If there's a point number, it's 1/10 of a foot, it's not inches. So if it's like 6, it's, or 5, it would be 1/2 of a foot, not 6. Things like pools add some value, but it's minimal. You may think it adds more. You may spend $70,000 on a pool. I know you give me that look like this, but the reality is that I'm not interested in what you spent for it. I'm interested in what you could sell it for. And I could show you numerous listings of people out there that have pools that are 10 years old that are a detriment to their sale value. don't add to it at all. One bit of cracked concrete in that apron, your respective buyers are going to flee. Questions? Yes?
You had mentioned that even though our assessment that came out last year showed a percent change of 2.96,
Yes.
it is counteracted by a reduction in the tax rate, so you're
Yes.
actually still paying the same amount. I have both of my tax bills here,
Mhm.
and when I look at the line that says tax rate, my tax rate from 2017 is actually lower than my tax rate from 2018. So I have a 2.9% increase in my assessment, and my tax rate went up.
Right. That
Why
that
did
has
that-
absolutely nothing to do with the 2.9%. The reason that your tax rate went up, and let's talk about, let's get the elephant out of the room. Let's talk about the $800 increase to tax bills in your area. Yeah, yes. Let's see, we've got it on Will County Supervisor Assessments. Look on the top to there. Scroll down, search by parcel ID. Yeah. Search by parcel ID. Your PIN number in there, and then 5-year tax detail. Brookside Glen, in the area of Tinley Park, is a unique area in that it straddles two counties, Cook and Will. And unfortunately, while some people may like Cook County, I'm not a big fan, they like to hold things close to the chest and they don't really give out the information. Will County is one of the first counties that has to publish their numbers. So in 2005, your tax detail? All right. This is, you can go here to the Will County SOA website. You can look up this, and this will be your 5-year detail. And it'd be interesting to look at your 5-year detail, because for the most part, scroll down, tax bills from 2017 to 18 did some sort of funny. They only went up like 25 or 35 bucks. Why was that? Your school didn't take any less than a CPI increase. Your fire department didn't take any less. But the reality was, tax bills went from 10,941 to 10,994, $15. Even though your school took the maximum increase on their raise, even though the fire department took their raise, even though everybody did theirs, it didn't. And why didn't it? Well, the reality is you overpaid here. Why? Because at the end of the year, Cook County decided to raise the value of everybody in Cook County, Tinley Park. So when they did their tax bills, the coffers filled up with too much money. And at the end of the year, all the money that was left over was applied to the levy, driving this number down. The reality is your tax bill only went up $400, and $400 the year before that was refunded to you.
But like over the last 5 years, because we moved here in 2015, our
Yeah.
taxes have gone up over $2,000.
Sure.
In that 5-year period, and I think that's my question.
Taxes have doubled in the
Why?
last 14 years. And yet referendums in your area are voted on with flying colors. Every time that you guys, let's talk about taxes. We know that taxes are a product of taxing bodies. We know that it's a levy. Back in 1973 or 74, a great guy by the name of Hank Gianvecchio fought for and put a limit on what taxing bodies can raise their levy every year. That is called PTEL. The law is called PTEL. PTELL, Property Tax Limitation Law. That law states that any one of the taxing bodies, you go back one, flip your tax one. Back. Click that one, click tax detail.
We don't have a fire department.
Yeah, your fire department is part of your village. So that gets folded in. Now, each one of these taxing bodies has a built-in raise every year for them. They can raise their levy, the money that they levy, by either the CPI, Consumer Price Index. Does anyone know what that is? CPI is, the government looks at the sale of certain commodities, milk, a loaf of bread, a gallon of gas, and then they come up with what the average cost of living is increased. So every one of these taxing bodies, at the end of the year, and they always do it towards the end of the year, November, when do you guys do it here at Tinley? November, December? Set your budgets? Yeah.
No, May 1st.
Oh, May 1st, okay, May 1st. Right before the tax bills go out. So each one of them can raise their levy by X amount of dollars each year, whatever the CPI is, or 5%, which is ever less. And thankfully, the CPI has never been more than 5% except once, which sucks. But that means that every one of these guys gets a built-in raise every single year, without fail. Not everyone takes it. Forest preserves tend not to, townships tend not to, but they're 1%. The 80%, school and fire, consistently take the CPI increase. And then on top of it, we as constituents, we say, we don't pay enough in property taxes, so we're gonna vote yes on every referendum. You guys have never said no, ever. I mean, every school referendum, every park district referendum, everyone is a yes. And that is literally writing to the taxing body and saying, well, guess what? You can raise your levy even more than what it was. And let me show you how, let me illustrate how that affects you. I do not live in 161 school district. I live in 159. I live west of Everett. You know why? Because their tax rates are decidedly less than where you guys are. The exact same house. You know where Mr. Benny's is? Anyone know where Mr. Benny's is? Yeah. All right. A house on the east side of the street and a house on the west side of the street, valued at the exact same amount of money. The exact same house, the house in the east pays $1,000 more. $1,000. Why? Because of every referendum, and it's just going to get worse because every referendum that you guys vote for, they then apply that same CPI increase to going forward. Every one. Now, I mean, I'm not saying referendums are bad. I don't. I didn't like the high school referendum, and I worked against it, you know, so forth. But there are times that they're needed. I'd like people to read what they're actually voting for when they do this, because you can actually word a referendum that it becomes, you know, listen, the school needs $300,000 to do this. We can make it just $300,000, but they don't. They word it so that it gets folded into their levy, which means that from now into the future, every time they do an increase, that's an increase on that levy that you voted for, that referendum. You guys just had a park district referendum pass. Wasn't even close, right? That's the reason your tax bills go up. That's the levy. The only way an assessment makes a change is if I change just you. If I walk in and lower just you, then yeah, your tax bill is going to go down, and everybody else makes up for it in a higher tax rate. My job is to make things fair. I can't make it more fair than you know, for everybody else. But the way I explain my job to people that don't know, I'm the guy, we all go out to dinner, and at the end of the night, you hand me the bill. And I say, well, you had a steak, and you had fries, and you had this, and you pay that. If we go to Mr. Benny's, it's an expensive bill. If we go to McDonald's, it's a little bit less. Now, you guys have an incredible school district. We went under COVID, and your school district was able to get Chromebooks in every student's hands. When the entire world is out there looking for Chromebooks, they can't find Chromebooks, 161 found Chromebooks for every single student. I didn't go out and buy one for mine because our school didn't get it in Mokina. So I mean, but that's what you guys want, but that costs money. I can't even imagine what they paid for those. Insane. Did that answer your question or no? Did it? I mean, we can talk personal. I mean,
Sorry. No, I'm not personal.
no.
I think my question was just, I think there was a comment where you had said that even though our assessments increase,
Yeah.
that does not necessarily mean that our taxes are going to increase.
It doesn't.
Because it is counteracted by a lowering in taxes.
When they calculate the levy, the the increased assessed value causes the rate to drop.
Yeah.
That's the only thing when everybody gets raised up.
And that was my question, because
Yeah.
we're, based on the assessment, everybody's was going up, but the tax rate also went up. So there
Yeah.
was this,
Well, you-
both are going up. So my question is-
The tax rate basically went up mainly because of the fact that you had an artificial deflation of, I think it was like 300 and some, when this happened, when you guys got your tax bills, I wasn't expecting it in my office either. Man, I got the phone calls starting at like 9 o'clock in the morning, people are, I'm like, what do you mean your tax bills went up $800? And then I'm looking it up and I'm like, holy crap. And I'm on the phone to Will County and I'm like, what the hell happened? Why on earth did this happen now, especially in the age of COVID, when I can't let anybody in my front door and they want to know, why am I charging $800 more?
No, you're
On your
fine.
back. But, you know what I mean? If Cook County would publish their numbers, and they're always very secretive, and they're always, you talk to the guy at Will County and he's like, yeah, you call them up and they just hang up on you, which is fine. I mean, it's Cook County. They are the main driver of this state, funding and all this. But the reality is that why do you think all the businesses line up in Will County as opposed to Cook County? Because you guys assess property, Cook County assesses business property a lot differently than they do residential. The rest of the state, everything's a third. Commercial, industrial, residential. I don't care if you're Mariano's or you're the house, you pay on 1/3 of your market value. Any other questions? More questions? Yes?
You know what the average tax bill for Brookside Glen is?
No. I would guess somewhere between 8 and 12. I mean, property taxes have doubled in the last 14 years. Doubled. Especially in areas that are high on doing referendums. And it's like, you want to do good, right? You want to give your school more money because that's the important thing. The kids are important, but is there a limit? We all have limits. I mean, I have a limit in my, wallet, what I'm going to pay. And especially now when we're, stuck in this, whether or not they're going to teach. I got a 6-year-old. Yes, I'm sorry. Go on. Oh, raise your hand.
Yeah, go ahead and finish, then I'll ask my question.
Yeah, I mean, I don't even know what's going to happen in this. This is an incredible, year of COVID. I mean, we all came out here, risked our lives to talk about property taxes, and I gotta go home before the 31st to make a decision on whether or not my kid's going to go to school or not. Who knows? Yes. Your question.
You had said the third option for a basis of appeal is
Assessment equity.
assessment equity.
Yes.
Could you explain what that?
Yes. So on that form I gave you, it's going to talk about square footage. Yes. Here, and it's going to be the last line on this. It's going to say price per square foot, GLA divided by the building. So you're going to look at what the building assessment is. Your assessment is broken into two things: land, building, and total. You're going to take that total, you're going to divide it by the square foot I have for you. I'm going to go back to that page there. Scroll down. My page, the first one. Yours, scroll down. So 2,980.68, scroll down. In the improvement number right there. So 115 divided by the square footage will give you a price per square foot. That should be the numbers that I looked at. Out of 300, sorry. Yes. All right, so ranches are coming in at $36 a square foot, $36.50 a square foot. 2 stories are at $33, and that's sort of mixed stories too. So that's out of 300. So I mean, if we're talking averages, so I mean, 491 plus 2 stories, 292 2 stories, and 360 ranches. So that's the average. That's based upon sales of those units brought down to a price per square foot. If you calculate it out and you're less than $36 for a ranch and $32 for a 2-story, I wouldn't file an appeal based on equity. It wouldn't work. That's what it would. Yes?
So I understand that your job is to keep it fair based on square footage.
Yeah.
Whose job is it to see that they're spending the money appropriately, they're not getting raises when they don't deserve it, and not just to say, we get a 20% raise, take it, who cares if we need it or not?
Every April, we get to vote in elections and vote every single one of the board members
Whose
that
job
sit.
is it?
Whose
Which job
job?
do I vote for? I don't even know.
Roughly, when school boards encompass 70% of your property tax bill, if you're lucky, when school boards are elected, I think you're going to get about a 7 to 10% turnout in that election. And of the people that actually show up to elect, they voted half for what school board members. Nobody knows who these people are. And nobody, you can't jump all over school board members. You have to understand, these are mostly basically people like us that work in normal jobs. They're not getting paid for this. They're going to help out. And a lot of them get involved in school boards because they have causes. I really want my child, taught Mandarin Chinese, so I'm going to join the school board and I'm going to implement that. Well, it just costs more money and more teachers and blah, blah, this, and never forget that there are certain budgetary things. I jump all over schools for raising the CPI every year without fail. The problem is this, is that every school contract, every teacher's union contract, every janitor's union contract is tied into that CPI number. So if your school board says they're not going to take that CPI increase, guess what? What are they going to cut? Janitorial? They're going to cut electricity? I mean, if I had one plea for you guys, it's to pay attention to referendums. We don't. I could bang my head up against the wall 1,000 times, but if we keep voting for this, nothing's going to change. You're never going to have this issue. You're still going to be paying more each time it comes through. And only vote for things you truly need. What's really going to help out? What's the important thing? They already get a built-in raise. They're already getting a cost of living increase. Anything you're giving them more is just gravy. I live in Kumokina. We passed our first school referendum ever since I've lived here since '99. And they did it under what I consider less than the best. I put myself through college doing heating and air conditioning. I did it for Sears. I used to work for fix furnaces and so forth before I bought my first business. And they showed pictures on a website and how they needed to pass a referendum because of maintenance issues. And they need a new roof. I really like that. They need a new roof. Because you would think that these superintendents that we pay $220,000 a year, that they would budget for long-term capital expenses like roofs, rather than just at the drop of a moment, we need a new roof. Or show me a furnace that's so rusted out, I know that it hasn't been looked at in 10 years. And oh yeah, there's some breaks in the asphalt. And for that, $700,000 a year at a referendum. Really? Now, unfortunately, I have a kindergartner who's going to be a kindergartner, and I don't want to be the guy out there screaming against the referendum in a school that, guess what, my kid is going into. So I backed off, but it passed. It's crazy, but it did. And you guys, like I say, passed your park district? What was the park district referendum for?
The last one?
Just restructuring bonds, because the last one was for the house to grow grasses. That was the natural grasses. Yes.
No, the taxes are based on the square footage of the home. That's living space.
The taxes, the assessment
The
is
assessment.
based upon,
Okay. The
yeah,
assessment,
the assessment number here, the total number here,
you know,
is based upon 1/3 of market value.
okay. Now, in my situation, I live in a townhome,
Mhm.
outside Atlanta, and we have a loft. All right, so we have a loft, full bath, and a bedroom.
Okay.
Now, the rest of the other half of the townhome There's nothing, 16
Right.
or 17 feet. It's not livable space.
Yeah, but I don't think I marked that. That's probably not listed as gross living area. Anything open to above on your sketch. And look at your sketch, but the townhomes are pretty cookie cutter. The great thing about townhomes in anywhere is that they were all built by the same person, generally to the same specs, and they're all the same size, and there's tons of sale data. It's pretty easy to put the correct number on townhomes because they're all the same. The problem that you run into is houses. When Mr. Johnson here built his house, and Miss Smith, when she built her house, she's like, can you bump it out a few feet that side? And then Mrs. Johnson's like, I have the same house as the neighbor. No, you're 2 feet out on this side, and for 50 feet, that's 100 square feet, and that means a little bit more as far as your valuation goes. I'm sorry, did that answer your question?
Yes.
If you want to look at your sketch, when you can call, we can look over your sketch directly, but
Is
Yes.
your information, your name and phone number somewhere in the paperwork that we got?
sure.
Is it on the bill?
Yes, it's on this piece of paper on the front.
Okay.
Really? Yes.
I live south of 183rd. Why do I pay for mojitos? Everything. District, everything.
Because at some point in the past, they annexed you? Yeah. Well,
Ever since I moved in 2002.
Right.
That way.
Well, but each taxing body covers a certain area. Not very often does that change. It did just change for the Mokina Park District. They annexed an area that didn't have a park district because a couple of constituents came in, wanted it. Mokina has the Oaks, which is like that where you work out. So somebody came in there and says, we want to go to the Oaks. And they said it's $15 a month because you're a resident, or it's $20 if you're not, and you're not a resident. He's like, well, I'm a resident of Mokina. And they're like, no. Well, what's your park district? And they didn't know. And they found out that there was an area of about 100 homes that were not in any park district. So they annexed them without asking. So that guy that was looking for $5 off a month on his membership to the Oaks now pays $230 a year. Every person in that subdivision pays $230 a year into the property tax bill for him to get $5 off a month.
But
on
we're
his-
still paying for Tinley Park District also.
No, well,
Yes.
Okay, well, let's.
No, we shouldn't.
You shouldn't be. You should only pay for one. I mean, maybe, well, let's go up your tax bill.
Brookside Glen doesn't pay for.
We can,
That's Brookside Glen.
hold on,
We have
scroll down.
Brookside Glen.
Go to Frankfort Township, first one. First
I'm
there.
not Brookside
Last,
Glen.
go to property search.
Even though we're paying.
Okay, I understand. What's your street number? The number of your house?
8743.
8743. Hit search. All right, so what's your street name?
Black Oak.
Black Oak. Click on that. So your PIN number is 210401. Go to Will County Supervisor of Assessments. PIN search,
You're right off 183rd.
1909.
Yeah, you're on this side.
Right.
02. I'll go back to the first one. Click on that. So it's 2104001. Click on
If you want to join Tinley, you have to
2104001. Search. Tax information. Tax detail. Scroll down more. Yeah, no, you don't have Mokina Park District at all on there.
It's on my tax bill.
This is your tax bill right here. This is your tax bill.
I didn't bring it with me.
Where do you see Mokina?
You live in my house. Right. Yeah, we get Mokina too on there. And we get the.
Your tax bill more than
Park District.
10,901? Because this is every,
That's my tax bill now, right?
that's your tax bill, but you shouldn't get Mokina on there. You shouldn't have
I'm
it on
on
your
Black
tax bill.
Oak as well, just down the block, and we only have the one, Tinley Park.
Yeah, because that is your tax bill. You should only have one, and if you don't, I would do that part just say, why you charge me money? Because I'm not in your park
I think that's everybody south of
Well, we have a
100.
little park there.
Huh?
They put a
Park
park
districts
there.
are one of those things that you never know where the money goes. It's really sort of, the deep dive into what that is.
When we moved in, there was an empty, like a, I don't know what you want to called, Lab or something, and then they built a little park there, and they said Mokina, and Mokina comes and cuts the grass.
They might, but that might just be Mokina, but you're not, there's no charge. You're part of the Tinley Park Park District.
Well, I know, I'm part of both, because I
Yeah.
get everything from.
And you get to go to their pool for cheaper, because I don't get to.
Hey,
I got a question.
I got a question over here.
Yes, I'm sorry.
You moved in in 2005.
Okay.
Every year we have received tax bills. Our tax bill shows Tinley Park Park District and Frankfort Square Park District. We have been
I
charged
don't think that
for
means
both.
park district. Here's
Can you
the
pull it
tax
up?
bill.
What is it? You got it both?
Yeah.
That's the road.
No, our
It's not Park
mine is
District,
park.
it's road. Road District.
I don't have my tax bill.
We can pull it up. I mean, it's not, I mean,
No.
getting into the minutia and talking about individual
74.
tax bills is a little bit rough.
Mike, go back to the search. Want to pull hers up? What's that?
Street number. What's your street number, ma'am?
7428.
7428. Search.
Ridgefield Lane.
What did you say, Hickory?
Ridge.
Ridgefield Lane.
Ridgefield Lane.
This one of those is fine. Okay.
12-201.
12-201-027. 1909, 12-201-007. Search. Treasury tax info. Scroll down. Frankfort Square Park District, Tinley Park.
Roads?
Roads.
Village of Tinley.
Yeah, you don't have the Park District.
And the Tinley Park Public Library.
Yeah.
Okay.
You don't, that's the, you're in Frankfort Square's Park District, but you're not in Tinley Park. Yes,
That's why
sir.
we can't go to the Senate now. Pay extra for
How
it.
you doing, Joe? Long time no see.
Yeah, how you doing?
Ryan Jones.
I know.
Hey, if we do file an appeal,
Yeah.
what's the deadline?
Right now, I think it's September 14th.
And is that for this year or for next year or for what year?
It's for the, so all taxes are a year in arrears. Good to see you, Ryan. Taxes are a year in arrears, meaning that you're paying 2019 tax bill this year, you'll be paying 2020 tax bill next year. The assessment that I've made and submitted as of July 1st was as of January 1st, 2020. So that will be the so the value of your home, January 1st, 2020, and the appeal is based upon that. So you're appealing next year's tax bill. Right now, there's no way to adjust the tax bill you have in your hand because all that money is being allocated out to taxing bodies. Yeah.
What was that date again, Joe?
I think it's September 14th. They changed it in the last couple of days. I would say if you were to go to frankfortassessor.com, they would get it quicker. But, you know. Yes?
You had mentioned that the appeal form would be available around August 7th approximately. I know they're still kind of working on that. At that point, once that appeal form is ready, we are able to appeal on those three different
Yes.
reasons that you explained.
Correct.
When we file the appeal form, do you then look at it and call us for a meeting? Or should we call you ahead of time and say, look, this is all the data that I have gathered, these are all my comparables, do we meet first before we file the appeal, or how does that work?
What I would, okay, so when I took office, I think the appeals process is a pain in the butt for most people. All right? You guys don't have any training in real estate, the nomenclature, the words, where do you find information? Oh my God, and they would just fill these forms out wrong, and then I was like, I feel bad. You guys have done all this work and nothing gets changed, and you're just like, effing government, they're upset and they're all pissed. So, 2012, I said, you know what? I'm going to start something called the soft appeal. I spend the first 6 months of every year setting those assessments. And at that point, I think it's great. Why don't you come in and meet with me informally? You bring every bit of information you want to talk about. You want to talk about the neighbor who's got the, my neighbor, he's got this great basement. You should raise his and not, we could do that. We could sit and have that conversation. That's the soft appeal. This is the hard appeal. This means that my numbers have been submitted for the year. You now have to file an appeal to generate any change. If this is any time during the first 6 months of the year, you come see me. We talk about it. You want to do this? File the appeal. I will get a copy of the appeal. I will sit in my office till 2 o'clock in the morning going through every appeal, looking at every single spreadsheet. And if there's a reason to bring you down, I'm going to call you up and I'm going to say, yeah, I think that you're right. I'm going to bring you down. But once again, I only make things fair. I can't make it more than fair, because if I'm lowering you, he's paying for it. And I don't think you want me lowering him so you pay for it. I want to make sure that it's even, that everybody's paying relatively the same thing. And as I said earlier, if I ever give you the opinion that I think downstate knows what they're doing, they don't. One of the first things they did when I was in office is there used to be a rule: if there's a foreclosure, the person that bought the foreclosure can't use that sale to generate value because it's a foreclosure, and they're going to build that house up and make it. Well, trial lawyers and all the real estate people got together and said, we got to give them that. So guess what? Some guy walks into your neighborhood, buys a foreclosed house, he's paying less in taxes than you, and you get to pay your normal amount. Is that fair? I don't think that's fair. I don't think that's fair at all. I think that they should have kept foreclosures off. Yes?
Shelley lives a block from us, yet she's in the Chili Park Park District, and we're in the Mokina Park District. How can that be?
Where they drew the line. That 161, and I've been told this may not be correct, but I was told by a reliable source, an ex-mayor, the reason why 159 stops where it does on Everett and why 161 starts where they are is that back 120 years ago, the fathers in Mokina were setting their school district, and they didn't like the Yonker kids from the farm because they had like 6 kids, and they didn't want to educate them, so they set the boundary line on Everett, the edge of their farm. Little did they know that LaGrange was going to become an exit for the expressway. So not only does your school district get a higher tax rate, they have one of the largest commercial bases of any school district. That Target Center, all of the industrial and commercial down LaGrange, that all should be offsetting your property tax bill. It should. I don't know why it doesn't. And that's what everyone talks about, new stuff, and they say, well, if we put in a new subdivision, will that help? No. Subdivisions need people, or need teachers. They need more infrastructure like that, which tends to cost more. The philosophy behind it is that when you put in a business or a commercial, that should just feed the school without the school increasing its levy. But unfortunately, our taxing bodies tend to take all new construction into their levy and then increase from there, as opposed to allowing that money to satisfy the levy and help out the taxpayer.
Does the mental health center that's empty, does that pull down all of Tinley?
Which one?
The
The one on-
property,
The one here?
Yeah.
It's Cook County.
Well,
No,
you
'cause
said Cook County though, like it affected.
The stuff across the street is pretty industrial, so it doesn't, although, has anybody been to that restaurant that's in there? It's like a
Side street.
Is that what it's called? I keep meaning to stop in there, but then COVID came up and we never went. But it's sort of like, it's the weirdest place to have a restaurant, and the hotels.
There's a couple of them in now.
Are there?
Yeah.
It's growing. It's really busy.
Well, it pops and that area over there, but yeah. Yes.
Senior exemption
Yeah.
for freeze.
Ugh.
Well, how did they come up with the $65,000?
It was 55,000 and 65,000.
But you're talking for, somebody at 65,000, that's 16 to 20% of their income just going to taxes.
Sure. I've got people that live in, I think it's probably $750,000 house that has a senior freeze on it.
So is it
Their tax bill is, no, it's $750,000. Their tax bill is 26 grand, and they claim less than $65,000 a year in total household
Is that
income.
adjusted income or is that gross?
Total gross income. But I'm not a policeman. You fill out the forms, you submit them, I submit them. Whether or not the state takes them, they take them. I may not agree with them. Well, let me just say one thing about exemptions. Politicians like to talk about exemptions, and we're going to help you out with exemptions. Exemptions don't help anybody out, except the person that gets the exemption. If I give you $10,000 off of your assessed value, who pays for it? You do, and you do, and you do. There's all this talk about property tax reform. And unless that person standing up there talks about levy, stopping the levy from being increased, he's not saving you a dime. He's literally just pushing numbers around and pushing that burden to somebody else, whether it's you or not, and it probably will be you. I mean, it's sort of like this whole, progressive tax thing that we're going to have to deal with. I mean, it's sort of like the trust your politicians tax. You're going to trust them to, not raise your taxes? I would. Yes, sir.
Yeah, Mike brought up something, senior freeze. What is the top dollar amount for that?
$65,000. Now, the senior freeze does not freeze your taxes. It freezes your assessment. It only is beneficial to you when assessed values are going up, which then drives tax rates down. That is the only time a senior freeze works. If property values ever start going south, you are the first one getting socked by increased taxing or increased rate increases, or the tax rate increase. When property values drop, tax rates go up. If your assessment is frozen at a certain level, that increase hits you hardest of all. Because most people that are not on the freeze are getting a reduction in their assessment where you've been staying at the same level. We have people that have had the freeze since the 80s where, in downtown Frankfort, they're paying $2,000 on a house, but they've lived there forever. And I mean, the more egregious stuff happens on the really expensive homes, which I don't know if I truly agree with, but once again, I'm not a policeman, and just take the forms in and submit them. Yes?
When we're preparing our comparables for our reason, is there a way to filter on the website for the type of house? You said, like, for instance, ranches would be comparable to ranches, and is there a filter for
Because you're
that?
going to be looking for sales. All of our sales are fed through in the ProVel, which is our program. This one here, you're basically going to have to just click. I mean, you know your neighborhood. I mean, you click on one, like, click 370, click that, click one of those. It will tell you what the house is.
So you just look at the picture and then you pull it up and then you calculate the price per square foot?
Price per square foot on the sale. That's the sale price per square foot. That's you're going to appeal based on that as opposed to assessment equity. Assessment equity is going to trump everything. So you being assessed, this isn't a game to try to get the lowest assessment possible. For me, it's a job to make everybody as fairly assessed as possible. So I'm going to look towards assessment equity as the reasons and what I'm going to try to push for.
And assessment equity is where we're looking for the price per square foot.
You're dividing the building number, or the building here, see the building, the 92, divided by the square footage of the house.
Oh, so that's not the total? It's
Not the total, just the building on assessment equity. You're going to take land out of that equation. That's why it says on here, GLA divided by building on the thing.
It's this number here.
This number here,
This number here.
improvement. It'll be listed on some things as improvement and on other things as building.
Do you see it?
Yeah,
Improvement or
That
building.
divided by this number up here.
yes.
So
And
mine
then-
was 97,394. Now I'm at 32.
Right. Two-story?
Yeah.
So you're right at what the average of all homes within your neighborhood for, are you a mixed story?
No, 2-story.
Two-story? Yeah, so there's roughly 292 of those, and they're at 3319. So you're a little bit lower. I wouldn't appeal based on that if I were you. More questions? Anything? Brian?
So you mentioned the sale of Illinois North.
Yes.
If the school district gets $60 to $80 million for that school from the state police or whoever, what impact will that have on us in the next few years?
I hope there's as many people that were out there before in the groups that we traveled with that are gonna start. I know a couple people on the school board, not great, and I can't say that I have any trust in school boards personally, but that one, at least one person on the school board I sort of really like, and I think he's really business oriented or minded. You may or may not know, part of your tax increase in this last tax bill came from the debt obligation of Lincoln Way. So somewhere around 2012, when Wiley, but Wiley,
He's in Florida.
yeah, Florida guy, yeah, that guy. So they took more money out to buy land in Manhattan when they already owned land in Manhattan, and the guy that was running the something, whatever, it was just a mess. So now, when they did that, they backloaded all of the interest payments to start coming due last year. And I saw some things from the school board, and they were talking about the numbers, and I'm like, we're effed. I mean, we're watching a steady progression up of what that's going to be. And lo and behold, that referendum we signed, and you go back and you look at it, it wasn't just to build the schools, it was to give them this unending flow of money. We did it. We all voted for it. Whatever, we did. So now, if they sell it, hopefully they can refinance the debt. I think the debt is a lot higher than what they're going to pay. So I don't really know I hope that it stops the pain. I don't know if it's going to solve what we still owe. I think we were owing like $500 million at one point. And 60 million doesn't go a lot to, clean up $500
Well, do you
million.
think that they would refinance that?
Well, they're supposed to. That's what everybody talked about. But once again, do you look for a different outcome if nothing's changed? Isn't that the definition of insanity? I don't know. I mean, I want somebody to start talking about it. And I want numbers. I want to know what happened. And none of this can be done in the back. I'm done with stuff being done behind closed doors. I want to know what the numbers are. I want to know what this is going to require, because interesting fact, the Lincoln Way school referendum did not pass any single voting area except one. Do you know what area that was? No. Brookside Glen. You guys voted for the Lincoln Way referendum so much that it passed. It failed in every other area, yet they closed yours. The state police, in conjunction with the emergency services, found that the pool area underneath is sufficient to, let's say that nuclear war happens and all the really important people have to go somewhere, they're gonna all go there, and we're gonna all go bang on the doors and not get let in. That's what's gonna happen. They're gonna bury it underneath the bunker that is Lincoln Way. When the Illinois Philharmonic Orchestra could not find a venue that rivaled our high school auditorium, they couldn't find a commercial venue. That auditorium is going to be owned by the state police, and they're going to be talking about, fun stuff. Yes. Any more questions? Yes.
What is the source that you use to value homes? Are you using Redfin? Are you using Realtor.com? What sources are you using?
I'm only doing this because you guys have access to it. I get every sale. Every single sale that is registered with Will County has to come through me. So they send me a copy, then I input all of the sales, I take out the sales. I mean, if Mr. Johnson was selling to Mrs. Johnson, that doesn't really constitute a sale. Or, if it was a foreclosure or it's a bank sale, I then pull those off and don't use those in the calculations that we do. But there were Brookside Glen is it's easier to value in Brookside Glen than say it is, an area that maybe gets one sale every 3 years. Brookside Glen gets plenty of sales. Yes?
I know this is not germane to what we're discussing tonight, but you brought up Willie, right? Lawrence Willie?
Wiley.
Wiley?
Yeah,
Yeah. I heard he's down in Florida,
yeah,
pensioned.
300,000 plus a
No.
year.
Yeah.
300,000
How
plus a year.
come they make any restitution?
No. You want a novel idea to solve Illinois' pension problem? And I tell this to every people. It says, if you were to take the average worker's salary, the Illinois worker is like $40,000 a year, and no pension can exceed 3 times that, we solve our pension problem. There are so many people in Illinois making pensions at $200,000 a year. It's like this thick. You read it and you're like, how does this work? How does the math work behind this? I mean, it's, you know, I can't solve every problem. Yes?
I had a question. You were talking about the businesses.
Yeah.
And as the assessor, does Walmart still own their land?
No, at 191st?
Yeah, do they still?
No,
did they
and
give it up?
it always makes me laugh hysterically. Walmart threatens to go across the street. We're gonna build across the street. Yeah, okay, they're gonna have, what is your tax rate here in Cook County? You're just income, or not income, but when you buy something, sales tax? 7. And then on top of that, the county taxes, Walmart would have to charge like 5 cents more for every item than Target ever would, and Target would outprice them. Although Woodman's not coming, I don't know whatever happened with that. That'd be a good, the school, does the school still own that property? I'm not even sure. They were gonna sell it to Woodman's, and then Woodman sort of backed out, and Pete's was gonna come here, and, you know, grocery stores. How many grocery stores can one area hold? Yes, sir.
So on the, if you're looking at assessed equity.
Assessment equity, yes.
You're saying that 33 is the magic number for a 2-story. What is the
Around
number?
there, I mean, it depends.
I think of, like, if my property is 35, is that the right number to talk to you, or is it?
Yeah, I would file an appeal. I mean, if it's 35, file an appeal. What's the worst I could do is I could say, well, you know, you have a 3-car garage and this added that in, but if you're 35, I'm sure that I would make an adjustment down to 33 pretty easily, at least whatever the 3350 or whatever it is. Anybody here met with me before? Am I a pretty easy guy to meet with and talk to about this stuff? I'm not hard. I mean, I literally, this is all about helping you out. My job is to explain this to you. Everyone thinks that I'm the guy that gives you your tax bill. I have nothing to do with it. I put a value on it and I explain it. The guy you talked about, Mr. Wiley, when I was elected, I was sitting and doing vehicles like this with homeowners associations, and I was talking about how taxes were collected. And this is about 2 months after my first day of office. And the guy comes up and says, "That's not true. Mr. Wiley said it was different. That what you're saying isn't." And I'm like, well, no, I think I know what I'm talking about, but whatever. The next day, I'm in my office, and my office is a lawn. So the lawn, the girl up front is sitting up front. I hear the door open, and I'm back in my office, and I hear the door slam open. "Is he here?" And she's like, "Well, yeah." Wiley runs back, walks back, and says, "What is your problem?" Now, if it was today, I would have choice words for him, but I was scared out of my mind. He's Lawrence Wiley. Everybody loves Lawrence Wiley. He's the guy that gave everybody 2 schools, and here I am, I've angered him. And I says, "Well, I'm just telling him how taxes work." And he said, "That's not your job." Lawrence Wiley told me that it's not my job to tell you how taxes work. I'm like, excuse me? Now, I had gone, my retort to him was, at that point, I sort of broke my fear a little bit, and I said, "Well, I sent somebody over to your office to get some numbers, and they told that person, if you got a problem with taxes, go see the assessor. So if you're gonna send people to me, I'm gonna explain to them how taxes work. And you can jump around every hoop you want. The reality is this, is that every year you take the CPI increase without fail. Without that, and this is even before the shenanigans, and now, in retrospect, me talking about this was sort of saying the emperor had no clothes at that point, and I think he was afraid. But, you know, what are we at now? We're years past that. let's move on. Let's talk about, you know, fixing things in the future.
So
What's the number one rule about, what's the way to fix this in the future? Anybody?
Be an informed voter.
Only vote for referendums you want. Absolutely, that has to be a number one, yes.
So what would you like them to do? So should they set up an appointment with your office to come see you after you?
If this was any year but COVID, I would say that would be the way to go. But right now, I don't know if that's the best way. And right now, file the appeal. Get the appeal on the 7th. I don't care if you do it half-assed. I will go through every one of them. I will personally look at every single one of them. And we'll give you a call. I'll give you a call and say, and if it doesn't work, if you can't win an assessment equity argument, you can't win a sales argument, then you're fair. And unfortunately, I can't make it more fair. Because like I say, once again, that just makes everybody else pay more. Yeah?
For the sales comparisons, how far back are we allowed to go for you to consider it? Did you say like a sale from 3 years ago is not necessarily accurate? So
It
then
wouldn't
how
be as
far back
accurate. I would.
would you consider looking at?
Sales
considering
closer to
data?
January 1st of 2020 will have more weight than sales that are farther from January 1st, 2020. If you go back 3 years and you find a sale here, but don't forget, I have all the sales.
Yeah.
And I mean, there's so many times people come to me and they go, well, I got 6 sales and they're all lower. And I'm like, I got 60 sales that are all higher. I'm just making this fair. And I mean, if you really, you know, if we start working together to talk about the other issues and what causes taxes to go up, maybe we're not focusing in so much as long as we're all paying the shared amount. Yeah.
So for assessment equity, we are researching the price per square foot.
Of the
based
building,
on
yes.
the tax. And then for sales, we are researching
The
the
total?
sales price to compare to our assessment value. Okay.
Yes, sir.
Based on information, inside information, the reason we didn't get Walmart or Woodman was that the school district, we got too greedy and wanted more tax money. So
Could be.
those folks, so that's what happened.
I wouldn't put it past it, but I can tell you this, that piece of land is not a nice piece of land. It's a sod farm. It's a sod farm that's below the level of 191st, which guess what? Means it floods, and it floods deep.
Yeah, but
And
you know,
if you wanted to put a Woodman's there, and you wanted that to be a parking lot, that parking lot would all have to be supported on concrete pillars to what, like 4 feet or something like that? And you would have to, I mean, you know.
yeah, they've got the, ComEd's got the infrastructure in there.
It's got a lot
Start.
of heat loss in it.
And also, what happened to McGrath? Did she ever do jail time? You know?
McGrath.
Melissa McGrath, she was secretary for the Athletic Association.
Oh, I don't know. She should. Isn't that indicative? I mean, you know, it was like it never stopped. You're just like, crazy. More questions, come on. Brian!
I found a small error in the calculation of the square footage of my home.
Okay.
Do I need to file an appeal for that, or can I contact you with an email?
Call me tomorrow at the office. I will send somebody out to remeasure. And if it's a calculation error and the positive for you, it'll actually mean I can file a C of E in reduction to the assessment that you're going on now.
I mean, it's real small, Joe, it's only 26 square feet, but
26 square feet times $33 a square foot times the tax rate could be.
years I'm gonna still live there.
I can't fix the past, I can only fix the future. People come to me and say, well, it's been this way always. Well, you know, no, you've been adjusted
Well,
here.
that's what I'm talking about, years going forward, I would say that.
Yeah, just call me. If you notice any problems with your sketches, please, I need to send somebody out to remeasure. Yes?
Can I put an appeal in and hurt myself and have my rate go up because you find a mistake the other way?
Absolutely. No. I'm not here to hurt you.
Good question.
Okay. If you came to me and you said, I'm only paying $20 in a property tax bill, and you made a mistake. So I get elected. and I go to a subdivision that was sort of instrumental in helping out and so forth, and I go to a party, and we're having this big discussion going on, and there's a guy, he's bragging. He's literally just sitting there, you know, like, listen, the assessor has valued my house wrong. And I hadn't taken office yet. I wasn't taking office for like 6 months. Because the assessor had valued my house wrong. He's got the square footage wrong, and I'm only paying, you know, $6,000 when he should have been paying $12,000. And he's talking about this, and the guy taps him on the shoulder. He says, you know, this is Joe. He's the new assessor. And he starts to apologize to me. And I said, wait, why are you apologizing to me? You should be apologizing to all your neighbors that are paying for you. He got really quiet really quick, and then he left the party. But I mean, I'm like, you know, I mean, I'm not gonna, if you come to me with the most egregious error possible, I wouldn't send it in. If you come to me and you're at $31 a square foot and everybody's at $32 a square foot, I'm just gonna slide it to the side and not think about it, because it doesn't. We all work from data that was collected by people that we don't know. I hope these sketches are correct. I do. I don't have the budget. My budget, when the year I took, the budget I have now is less. I believe in limited government. I believe in less budgets. I don't believe government should spend more money. They should spend less money. I don't have the kind of people out there to, I've had, you know, I mean, I could hire 6 people to go out and remeasure all the homes. Not to be the right, but I would rather have you guys look at it and not hire somebody and not be a guy that's going to be spending more of your money. Because I can just make the problem worse. Who wants to do that?
Do you redo the sketch then if it
Yeah.
is incorrect?
I redo everything. Any problems I fix. I am not imperfect. I'm not perfect. I am not imperfect. That's funny. Yes?
I'm sorry, I still don't understand. The school board people are volunteers that have full-time jobs and they do whatever the stupid lawyer that tells them what to say says. They're not educated, they're not the person I want watching my textbook.
You're right.
If I do something wrong on my taxes, there's the IRS. Who is the paid person that babysits the spending of the money?
Well, let's see. It could be Ron Saywin from Lincoln Way that stood up there on that stage, a guy that I had broken bread with and worked with the school board. The CFO, was he CFO, Brian? Saywin of Lincoln Way? And he goes, I didn't see a budget until Wiley left. You're the CFO of this organization. What did you do all day? Really, what did you do? You only see a budget when he left. You were here for 8 years as CFO. You make $180,000 a year. Sorry, I should.
So that's the paid
Get me upset.
employee
You get me
that's
upset.
watching the money. That's what I'm asking.
But it's basically up to the residents. I don't know what the terms are.
Any of you guys want to run for school board? You want to talk about it? You want to see what it would entail?
It's horrible. You couldn't pay me enough money to be on school board.
Maybe. Yeah, everybody hates you because you're on the school board, and it's never good. You never make the right decisions and whatever. But it's all about their kids and our money and how you spend the money. But it should be spent wisely, and you should put somebody as a steward of that in these positions that realizes that money is not a never-ending spigot in the wall.
That's what you say. It's not right.
Investigate candidates.
Show me your budget, let me see everything you've spent. I can't imagine they have that kind of power.
The only way to do it is to get involved, unfortunately.
Right.
Get involved and do exactly what we did and run and make that difference yourself. If you don't do it yourself, it's...
Why isn't the school budget online? That's my question. That's what I asked, that's what I went through and vetted school board candidates. Unfortunately, they didn't win. And I said, the only thing that I want from you is that when you put your budget, I want it online. I want to know where the money's going. I will sit and deep dive. I'm the numbers guy. I can sit in front of my computer with spreadsheets set up till 2 o'clock in the morning and digest every little digit and number. And I do it too. Because it's crazy.
Well, and they're rewarded to spend the entire budget so they get their increase next year. If they don't spend the whole thing, then they lose it. You're rewarding people to be bad.
They spend it all.
stewards of your money.
What I would suggest, get together with as many neighbors and friends, and
Vote in April elections.
no, you gotta get a group of people together and see who's willing to do it. And that's exactly what,
But who am I hunting? Who am I nagging? Who am I asking for that? Who's the
Somebody
person
who's
that
got a
gets
strong
the
backbone.
the
because the
residents,
minute-
someone that'll be the voice for you guys. You need someone that'll be a voice that's knowledgeable.
Somebody
That's
that's gonna
exactly
walk
what-
And
into
they're
a
gonna
school
ask
board.
the board of directors, or they're going to ask the CFO? Who are they asking for this information once you find a lot of them?
The school board appoints and keeps they're the ones that hire those people.
For the school, but then you said the fire department also spends a bunch of our money, and
Sure.
who's watching their stuff?
And every
But you
person on a fire board you elect. Or here, your trustees cover your fire department.
Right,
You-
and
so-
that stuff is
You
on.
could FOIA all their expenditures as well. You could
Right.
FOIA, their salaries, their expenditures.
Right, I see the fire department online, that's not a problem.
Yeah. Well, it isn't, I mean, sometimes government doesn't make the best decisions. I can attest to that. I can tell you that I've seen it numerous times in thousands of ways. I can tell you that, a lot of times people that are in positions of power that have these fiefdoms operate it like they're their own separate little kingdom. They hire people that, I need vigilant voters. I need people that pay attention to this, that aren't gonna, sure. Michael, you wanna come here and talk to the residents? Yeah, every opportunity. You guys came here, see the assessment, tell this guy off it, charging me taxes. No. Now you know where the taxes come from. Taxing bodies. You wanna show up to a school board meeting and ask the question? I would do it now. That's crazy. That's school board.
So basically, what you're telling us is August 7th, the new forms come out.
This is all the dates that the Will County SOA gave me today. I told them I was coming to a meeting to talk to people, and they said the numbers will be sent out on the 7th. They may be published, they may not be published. They're hoping for the 7th, but it'll probably be the 8th or 9th, whatever. And then everybody's gonna get the numbers published. You're most likely not gonna get anything mailed to you, because this isn't a quad, and I didn't change your assessment. The only way you normally ever get anything in the mail from the assessment is once every 4 years during a quad, and once, or if I make a specific change to just your assessment, then you get a notice mailed. Other than that, they normally just apply the factor, and because it doesn't affect your taxes, it's just normal. Yeah.
So I was under the impression that August 7th is when the appeal form was going to be approximately around that date, but you're saying that the numbers are going to change around that date? So if we're looking for comparables, wait until after
Oh, yeah, you can. All right, so in the past, let's say it's last year or any other year besides this year, I would have submitted my numbers, and then 3 days later I would have gotten a new set. But they got a new sort of fancy schmancy program that doesn't allow those numbers to come back at the Will County. So they're going to tell us when they figure out the workaround on the 7th, and then maybe the Will County SOA's website may have the right numbers, and when they give them back to us, I can then feed my website to populate them with the right numbers.
So don't look for any numbers before then?
Don't look for any numbers before the
Okay.
7th. I mean, you could,
Right? Yeah, the sales comparables, yes.
sales comparables, yes, but you could, because most likely your increase is gonna be 2.75%, 2.73% maybe. The number may change a little bit, but, so if you take your number, multiply it by 2.73%, and every other number, that should be generally what the number's gonna be. So the price per square foot may go up a little bit from where they are, maybe 34, 33, 4, Wait till after the 7th.
Okay.
And better yet, go to frankfortassessor.com and I'll make sure I put something up there that the numbers are live or something that'll let you guys know.
Okay.
If you bought a house
Yeah.
and does that sale price change the assessed price?
Yes. Yes and no. If you buy a house and let's say I have your house valued at $300,000 and you bought it for $290,000, and you walked in and you hand me the sales documents, I'll give you $290,000.
Yeah.
If you walked into there and you says I bought $310,000, I would smile, hand it back to you and tell you to leave, because I don't think that really means anything. But overall, that 310 will work into the pricing structure when we value everything. And everybody will be adjusted accordingly.
Okay, but your house individually.
Yeah.
You know, the old story to us who don't understand all these things is that when you buy a house, and all of a sudden your tax bill is going to jump from what it was the previous year.
That shouldn't happen.
That shouldn't happen.
That shouldn't happen if it's being assessed correctly. If you're being assessed where you should be, and I track that. I mean, I literally, so that number they apply, that, like you're talking about the 2.75, that's the state of Illinois looking at every single sale, throwing out whatever sales they deem illegitimate, which is generally the higher ones and the real low ones. I don't know, they have some guy in the back room doing it. But then they compare it to what I'm having it assessed at, and they say, you're 2% low, or you're 2.3% low. And our area is sort of one of the hotter areas in the area, so values go up. But once again, that doesn't mean, when I tell you that all values went up, that's great news. Doesn't raise your taxes, all it's doing is saying that what you have is worth more money. That's good news. Yes. Unless you really don't like yourself, break. Anybody else, more questions? Yes, sir.
I'm sorry, I must have missed that first part. So I heard you say September 14th is the deadline to get this to you, but we should.
No, not to me. You are not appealing to me. You're appealing to the Cook or Will County Board of Review. At this point in time, we are past the ability to talk to me. You have to file an actual appeal with them. They send me the appeal, and then I will be able to look at it, talk to you, hopefully either reach up an agreement and be done, or not agree, and then you will file with the Board of Review. Then it'll go back to them. They'll make a decision on it. If you don't like that decision, you can then file with the Property Tax Appeal Board in Springfield, giving them their information, and they can make a decision based upon what it is. And if you still don't like that decision, you can take it to the courts. But I mean, that it never stops. You can always, I'm not the last say-so in this, but my say-so is just to try to make it fair.
That would give the soft appeal.
No, I'm just giving you that form to show you what their form is going to sort of look like. Go to Will County Assessor. See if they, it wasn't up there today, but she's like, don't look at his password. Everybody look at me. Don't look at his password. Will County SOA, that one right there. Go to the top, home, right there. Welcome, exemption applications, keep going down. Publication PDF, supervisor assessments, no, they still have it up. It'll be there. That's where you'll get the form to file it. It'll be basically what I have there with a lot more things. They'll ask, like, do they have a pool? Do they have a shed? Do they have this? Or, when was it built? What was the year? Asking you to find a lot of information that you're going to have trouble finding. Don't worry about that. Stick to the important things like price per square foot, because equity will trump all.
And then you said that comes out, their assessment will come out after August 7th, so like August.
The new assessment should come out August 7th. That's what I've been told. Once again, if it's me saying that, if it was on my office, I would have them August 7th. I do not know.
And this is just published, again, like
Yes.
I said. Now, I'm coming from Kankakee, and I always got an assessment
Only when they change it.
document.
Well, maybe not. Maybe in the past. Well, in the past, they didn't mail charges weren't what they are now. What it costs a municipality to mail every resident in their district is insane. It's like 38 cents or some ungodly number, and they're killing budgets when you have to mail these things out every year. So the legislature said, we'll only mail them out when there's changes made, and changes other than the factory. So that happened like 7 years ago. Yeah. So we only get notices mailed out occasionally. When I specifically just changed yours. Yes, sir.
Joe, just curious, how many people roughly appeal every year? what's the percentage of them that are successful?
The year before I started, there were 786 appeals heard. I think last year I had like 12 that actually went to the Board of Review. I don't like, I would rather you and I decide this than somebody else, because the reality is that the craziness that I get out of them, I mean, I've had people that I say, yeah, this person needs to get lowered. I've agreed, they've agreed, and it goes down to the Board of Review, and it comes back, nope. I literally wrote, I think they should get lowered. But it's, when you let somebody else enter this fray, it makes it a little bit harder to deal with. Yes, sir.
So when would you and I have a conversation if I don't go through this process?
Anywhere between February and June of next year, but it would not deal with this year's tax bill. The tax bill is coming out next year. That the soft appeal, and I'm going to toot my own horn, but the reality is that it's sort of funny. 2012, I started the soft appeal. It was such a novel idea that the state of Illinois gave me an award called the Mighty Message Award to the Frankfort Township Assessor's Office. Why? Because I decided to include you guys in the conversation on assessments. To me, that's common sense. I shouldn't get an award. Every assessor should do this. And in fact, most assessors now in Will County do it. And we're already talking about teaching a class to downstate assessors, because I think that if you guys understand how this all works, then you can focus the rage on what's actually causing the increase in taxes. It's not a secret that the taxation works like this, that in January they give me my book, in June I turn it in, July to August they submit the numbers, and you get your tax bills in May, all right? The farthest point away from this, your second payment, then your taxing bodies all do their levies. The farthest point away, on days where they have to black box it. When I first started, I was adamant to get people out to taxing bodies, and a couple of the taxing bodies, and Wiley was the best. He used to publish in the Herald, and you couldn't get it anywhere close, and I used to drive every morning down to New Lenox and buy the paper, and because they do their taxing, the levy information, not at a school board meeting, but at a different meeting. And they'll do it like, well, we did it 2 hours before our normal meeting, so when you show up to the meeting that month in November, we already had our meeting. But they have to post it, and they have to put it in the newspaper. So I used to go there, and I would do all this, and I get this sign-up sheet of everybody. It's like, anybody that wants to go out there and say something and be involved, write these down. I had 270 emails. I was excited. I'm like, I got the number. I read an email. I sent out individual emails, 270 people. I showed up to the school board meeting. Take a guess out of 270, how many people showed up to the school board meeting? 0. Not one person. Not one person showed up that night at the school meeting. And that was before COVID. And this is 3 months of my work driving and buying newspapers every day, trying to make sure I get, when this is. But it is what it is. We have to start paying attention to the way they're spending our money, because it's getting to be outrageous. More questions? Yes?
Me again. My son sold his house last year and had to pay 4% tax to the state. Does that affect, does that affect like the
Not property taxes, but yeah, I mean, it doesn't, but they can tax you when you leave it too. If you want to leave, they can
Yeah,
tax you.
he lived in Hawthorne Estates. I know that's Cook County, but he couldn't wait to get out of here, so he went to Texas.
Oh, yeah, well, I love it here in Illinois. I'm born and raised in South Holland. I can remember that mall over there. I used to drive around that mall and and beep at girls, and how many years ago was that? Do they still do that?
Or River Oaks?
No, right here. This mall right here. River Oaks? No, River Oaks. Yeah. They discourage it? Well, I mean, it was fun back in the day. But, I wasn't the law-abiding citizen that I am now. Yes, sir.
I'm still just a bit confused on the soft appeal process. We
So-
fill out that form for next year,
to have a conversation?
I wouldn't submit it until after January.
Got it.
So what happens is this, and let's pray for a world that is post-COVID in some way. So what will happen is this, is you'd be like, you know what? I'm gonna go see that guy Joe. And I'm gonna call him up and I'm gonna set up an appointment. And then you're gonna call my office, we're gonna say, all right, fine, you come in on Tuesday at X hour, and I will then pull up a spreadsheet of every single house in your neighborhood that is like yours. Every sale, everything. And then I'll expect to come in with whatever information you want to tell me. Joe, my assessment is wrong because of X. And I'll say, okay, let's look at the numbers. And you'll bring up all of yours and I'll show you what I have. And if you need to come down, right there, we do it. We're done. There's no waiting, there's no whatever. I'll say then when the next tax bill comes out, you're gonna get a notice and the notice is gonna say this. And then you're solved.
Thank you.